In this video I'm going to show you what you're up against if you want to replace the rear brakes on a Ford van. It's an E150, but of course the F-150 is probably similar. This is an 06. It's probably pretty similar surrounding years, and so that's the point. It's not to teach you how to do brakes, but it's to show you a few pointers and what you're up against if you try to do brakes. So it's nice to have the right tools, like an air wrench when you do this, but you don't need an air wrench. You do need a strong jack. This jack won't do it. It might lift a pickup truck rear end, but not this van rear end. And then you want to, safety's the most important thing. It's totally stupid to do something like this and then hurt yourself. And so you got jacked up, and it's good to put something like this under it. Not that these jacks really ever fail, but that I know of. Ouch. I almost hurt myself. Now that's snug. So now the next thing, there's a little clip on here, and you can't hardly save it. You can't hardly save it. You just got to rip it off, and in theory it will unscrew, but I don't think it will in practice. So having said that, I am able to get these unscrewed. I couldn't replace it. You'd think it'd be easy to find these, but I didn't. On the other side, I didn't put them back on because they really don't do much of anything. When your tire's on there, the tire holds the rotor on. Plus it's kind of tight on here. But anyway, I was able to unscrew them. So I guess I can put them back on when the time comes. Now I need to get, there's two bolts that hold these calipers on, and they're generally pretty strong bolts. Let's see what I can do. Here's one here, right there. And there's another one right here. And pretty much all calipers are the same way. All brakes anymore. This is the thing that stops, and so it's got to be fastened to the frame pretty strong. As this turns, when it goes to grab it, it's going to want to turn also, and so it's pretty important that it's not allowed to turn. So I have a breaker bar, and one thing I'll do is, since it's on the other side, it's kind of backwards, I use this to, when I do this, I can tell naturally which way is unscrewing, which is what it's doing now. So I'll switch it to the other way. Now it's screwing in. So now I turn it this way, and so in order, oh, I need to unscrew though. So now it's unscrewing. So I turn it this way. To unscrew, I need to lift this breaker bar up. So this is what you're always up against, trying to get that enough force on that to, oh, I got it. Now let's try the other one. So I'm down here in a different location. I need to push down on it now. Get a good, get it in a good place. And you don't want to, oh, this is going to be, you don't want to hit your knuckles or something if it comes loose. I don't like this one. Maybe like this. Okay, so here. So now I'm going to push up from here. Got it. I'm going to switch over now. This other side. Push down, make sure it's right. No, it's not right. What's going on? Oh, I twisted this. Alright, so to unscrew, I push down. Wet weekend expected. We could see a thunderstorm this afternoon. Chances showers overnight as well at low 68. And looking ahead to Saturday and Sunday. Could be looking at a high around 81. Got it. Alright, so I'm just going to take these off. These bolts resisted all the way out. I guess maybe that yellow stuff is thread lock. Nothing wrong with the threads, looks to me like, but and so one thing, when you don't want to let this hang on the hose. They got a hose on here so you can, it's a little bit flexible, but I'm going to set it right here and it'll be alright. Some cars, I mean, you never want, you could, it's tempting to let it hang by that hose a lot of times, but you shouldn't do that. Now, the other thing we really want to look at is how these clips are on here. Now, probably nowadays you take a picture with your iPhone, and that's probably what I'm going to do, go in and get an iPhone or something, take a picture of how this is on there, because once you take that off you're going to forget how it goes on there, and then you're going to be sorry. I've still got quite a bit of pad on here really, but I'm going to replace it anyway, and I'm going to put a new rotor on it. And really I've been having a little, these brakes are shaking a little bit, and I've done the other side, and so if this doesn't fix that shaking, I'm going to have to do the front. And they have plenty of pad on them, but probably what happened is they didn't replace this rotor. And so back in the day we used to always grind the drums. Every shop could do that. And this shows the minimum rotor thickness, 20.4 millimeters. So you could measure this and you could see if there was enough there that you could grind this off and make it fresh. They don't do that anymore, no matter what it is, so, but you can buy new ones. They aren't terribly expensive, so that's what I've done. And this isn't going to come right off. I'm going to have to kind of beat on it. As I recall, when I did the other side, I had to heat this. Not this, but this, but the whole thing, but this one's going to come off. And I think it's interesting, these have you have your cable brake, hand brake, so it has this internal shoe brake, which is the way all rear brakes used to be. And I'm not gonna, this works, I'll just adjust it tighter so it sits snug on the thing, and I'm not gonna mess with this. This would be a, but there's a little tightener right here that you can, little adjuster. So I'll just move that adjuster and make those come out till they're snug on the new, when I put the new thing on, I want them snug. See, the reason I always want to either resurface or replace this, see how there's grooves in here? So you put the new pads on, they're going to have to form grooves like this, and plus you want to break this glaze. A lot of times that glaze, this is a little rusty. A lot of times that glaze is just shiny. And I've taken a grinder and broken it, but you can't really do it properly without a machine tool. So I'm going to take off these two bolts to get, and it'll kind of fall to pieces at that point. It's hard to get these. You should be able to get these out, I think. But anyway, I'm just going to take this apart. And I want to change these bolts anyway. That is to say, change the boots and grease them. Because these are the bolts that it slides on. When it, as the pads wear, and this opens up, and these, it kind of floats on these bolts here. It's kind of hard to picture it in a way how it works. But maybe you do have to always take these off. It seems like I've done this without taking these off, but maybe not. So here's these bolts, and they really should be greased. I don't know why there should be grease in there, because it has to float on it. See, the other side there was grease in there. I don't know why one side would be different from the other side. There it is. All right, so this kind of holds this just kind of holds the pads in place, and of course it has to resist a lot of force because all the force is going to be pushing on these pads when you go to stop. But then it has to float so that this can't move. This is locked in, so this kind of floats. And also, I think too, when the force really hits, it doesn't hit these bolts. It hits the way this is constructed, the way this sits in there. It's kind of locked in there. So, and then I bought new boots. Oh, I know. I see what floats is this. There's a pin in there. Am I still focused on this? Yeah. Yeah, there's a pin in here. That's what actually floats. And I got to get this out because I got new boots. Because I went to, on the other side, I kind of tried to grease these boots, and it just kind of made it worse. So I figured out that I could get new boots. And there isn't much grease here either. I don't know if the other side had grease. I don't know why one side would be different from the other side. The other side was, I don't know. Boots out. That is really, there's a little grease in there, but not much. Of course, it doesn't take much. And it was floating. You can see it's floating. I wouldn't probably have to replace this, but as I say, the other side I kind of tried to grease it. It didn't really work out very well. And if you mix grease, you know, one kind with another kind, you know, you can have a problem sometimes. So I just got new boots. It didn't cost very much. I was a little surprised that I was even able to get them. There it is. So, one other thing you got to do at this point is push this back in, because the new pads are going to be fatter than the old pads. So this comes out as the pads wear. So I'll get a C-clamp and push this back in. Now, I might take this, the book, I was reading something and it suggested that or in the past I just let the brake fluid go into the master cylinder. But I was reading something that says you should unscrew this, which is screwing and which is unscrewing. This is unscrewing. Uh-oh. Angels are bowling. So that's unscrewing. I need to get a different wrench too. I got a real wrench for this. The other one came off easy. So, and you got this type, this is a special wrench for this, and see it kind of encloses the whole nut better, so you got less chance of stripping it. So this is unscrewing, push down. Oh! So I was able to get it off by using this. I remembered, after all, the socket will close all the way around. So now what I need to do is I need to get a, well, I could just hold my finger on it. So here's the process where you squeeze this back, and I'm going to open that up a little bit. I've got a tube on there. I kind of need a different wrench. Maybe I could just use this. There. So I got a can over here to catch the. I need a better system, really. That's one of the problems with you do this yourself. You don't really have everything you really need. Okay, so I got it, I think. I need to get a different. Oh, there. Now, tighten this. And this is loose, right? In 2 weeks, and we basically created an album in under a month. The idea is you can play as you jump in the shower, go home, finish by the time the song ends. And some of them even changed their genre. There it goes. Now really, you want to have You don't want any air to get in there. Plus I'm not pushing evenly either. You want to push evenly. There, now I've got it. I can see the fluid is in the tube. There's no air. I think what I'm going to do is as soon as... See, now that fluid's running down that tube. Get it pretty much flat. See, I've got it. I can see it now. The tube is full of fluid. You don't want to squash this rubber. Oh, now I'm pushing air out. I guess there was air in there. Well, I need to bleed. I'll need to bleed it, that's all, I guess. I'll just need to bleed it when I get it all done. Should bleed it anyway.
This is NPR News.
So I'm going to take another picture here because it's this one, that one last shoe is hard to get off, and the concept, what I want to think about is this will be the first, the way I need to put it back together. Let me get the new stuff out too. So this is the new parts. So what I'll do is I'll put this one on. These are identical. I put that on like that, that on like that, and these two go like that. Goes like this. That one goes on this side. This one goes on this side. The more they pay you, the cheaper you are, I guess. When I did the other side, see, is that right? See, that just doesn't look right. Is that right? Yep. I guess that's the only way it can go. See, it doesn't look right. If you just take those old parts off and throw them away, you're going to think, oh, that can't be right. And you got to put the new.
More enforcement officers will be in place by the end of the month, and he said he
These
will
are,
reveal a timeline for the rest of the
actually, these are these exactly the same?
That's the
Yeah.
news from W.
These are exactly the same.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from T. Rowe Price, offering strategic investing approach that examines investment opportunities firsthand. Institutions, advisors, employers, and individuals choose T. Rowe Price. T. Rowe Price.
See, does that look right? That's not right. Is it? Yeah, because it goes like this. It goes like this. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Alright. Tell you, this is the trickiest part. So now I got to get the new ones on. See, the new ones are a whole lot fatter than the old ones.
NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Alex Cornish.
And I'm Ari Shapiro. The latest jobs report came out.
And I think they're identical.
Didn't change from the current 3.9%.
I'm sure they're identical.
Focused on is wage growth. Today's report shows that wages grew in
Monroe.
2.9%.
I like to get pretty nearly the best.
Economists are concerned that wages are not growing as fast as they should be.
So see, that slips over that like that. And then this goes in here. Goes in this little hole. Ouch.
To talk more about this, we're joined by Elise Gould, an economist.
Crazy.
Policy Institute that focuses on wages. Thanks for being here in the studio.
Thanks for inviting me.
So with that,
I remember when I did this on the other side, it took me a long time. I actually had to look at the other side,
including a labor department.
because I forgot how it went.
Sure, and to start out, I'd say that there are many different ways that you might look at wages. There's many different surveys to look at wages. The 2.9%, as you said, comes from
That.
the Employment Report today, and that's looking at all private sector workers year over year.
And then where's the other one?
And that's nominal wage growth also. So not real. When we think about real or inflation-adjusted wage growth, we're talking about how much more purchasing power.
This seems too easy. I had more trouble with the other side, but I guess maybe I should have learned something.
They're doing a few key things. One of the things is they're looking at
Like I said, one thing I did was...
non-wage benefits.
See, I'm not even looking at those pictures.
They're looking at paid leave. They're trying to say, okay,
I hope I did this right. I guess maybe I will look at those pictures now and make sure this is right.
maybe we should take that into account.
So if somebody's getting the same paycheck, but they're getting an extra week's vacation each year, that would be a higher number in this White House calculation than the ordinary bureau.
Where is this picture? That last one I took in
No, it would
particular.
also have been a higher number last year.
That last one I took was just like this.
What the White House is doing is they're putting
No, I
out
don't
a
want
number
camera.
for
I
this
want...
year without really putting that back in
Yeah,
time to
this.
see, okay, now we need to sort of change
So
the
let's see, is that right?
Orange's comparison then.
right. It's sort of like
See, I'd already whipped it off.
in the same
I
breath
need to go
at the same
back
time,
one.
and
How
it
do you
doesn't
do
give
that?
you a better picture of how things are today.
Whoops.
What is the appropriate level of wage growth, if there is such a thing?
Well, when we
Yeah.
think of a growing economy,
That's
let's
it. They
look at
need to
inflation
be
rate.
pushed closer together.
We also want to look at what's
But I
happening
guess
with
that's how it
workers
goes.
becoming more productive over time. So how much more they're producing, and that has to do with technology and investments in education and lots of different things. And that is trending. The potential is around 1.5. So
Oh, I got this one on backwards.
and we should be looking at
Other than
something
that,
like
though, I guess it's okay.
3.5% or even higher.
So that makes it 2.9.
You gotta have the pad on the inside.
A lot worse.
That happens.
Yeah, although 2.9% honestly is better than we've been seeing. So there is some optimism with that number. Hopefully it moves up even faster. But the problem is that workers just don't have the kind of leverage that they've had in the past to be able to go to their employer and ask for wage increases. We've seen a decline, a long-term decline in collective bargaining, erosion of the minimum wage. We've also seen employers taking on taxes that keep these workers from having other outside options. So things like having to sign non-competes or non-poaching clauses. And so workers can't more easily go out and try to get other outside options to bid up their wages.
That one top line number, 2.9% wage growth compared to last year, lumps together a lot of different kinds of people and a lot of different kinds of workers. When you break it apart, who are the winners and losers? Who's doing better? Who's doing worse?
In general,
Okay.
we're at the top of doing better.
So see, this only needs to be about that far apart. Now I gotta get
What you're also seeing over the last few years is some
clean this. I'm gonna clean this off a little bit and tighten it up and get the rotor and get the rotor on. Wait a minute, I gotta put this on there. That's what I got to do first. Let's do that first. All right, so I got my new boots. I need to stick them in here and then grease them. I could grease them first, maybe. I don't know. I guess I'll grease them first. I got this grease right here. And
After a meeting in Tehran, the leaders of those countries issued a joint Assad and its backers seem to be using the same old playbook, calling everyone terrorists and making every man, woman, and child.
there's one.
When Russia and the Assad regime say they want to counter terrorism, they actually mean they want to bomb schools, hospitals, and homes.
They want to be terrorists.
Punish the civilians who have the courage to rise up against Assad.
Russia's ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, says the U.S. and other Western countries in his words, stoking hysteria to prevent the fall of the last major rebel stronghold in Syria. And
You really don't want to have a lot of extra grease around here, but
of acting in an aggressive way.
you don't want grease to get on these pads. Alright, so there's that. Now I gotta put these in there. These are pretty clean. See, one thing I didn't want to do, and you don't want to get mixed greases, but there's no grease on here. So I gotta put this on.
Sitting in rubble with just half the territory of Syria under regime control.
I kind of think, incidentally, that this usually isn't done when you do brakes. They usually don't replace these boots.
Seems to be entering a new phase. All the countries involved in the war, including the U.S., have accomplished their primary jobs, but he adds no
You
one
just have to make sure they're still float, which they were floating. So my guess is they wouldn't have been replaced. See, when you do this part, you can squeeze them together. And then when you put the, maybe like this. Oh yeah, now I remember, and this thing has to go like this. I don't know, see, I think I had to take it back apart. Because this has to go around, but maybe I can do it. See this part here, ouch, I think I can do it though. Just have to bend it a little bit. Yeah, here it goes. Is that okay? Alright, so this is how you, see there's a window where you can reach in and do it, but it's hard to do it that way. So this is, see, I went the wrong way first. That's part of the thing, you know which way you go. So I'm tightening it up now. And then we'll put this, we got a nice new rotor. It really don't cost that much. Put that on. And see, it's loose as heck. Completely loose. So let's tighten it up some more. So I like to use this thing when I park my boat, when I put my boat on the dock. Tighten her up. It's still loose, but I've made it. I might not do too much more because we don't really need it to rub when I'm driving. Now it's a little, now it's tight. It's too tight. Okay, that's good. So now I know where the, so we got too tight, so now we back it off a little bit. And it's loose. Okay. Now we put the calipers on. And where's those big, now these big bolts, I won't put grease on them. What do I do with them? They're over here. I won't put grease on them. Now see now, well, there it goes. Sometimes it's hard to get that thing on there. Oof. So the grease goes here. Again, I got to line up the threads. And they lined up. And this is, of course, much easier to line up the threads because it's a big bolt and everything. And it's hard to go in, but it's going in, and with my fingers, can't be cross-threaded. You can't cross-thread it with your fingers. What? So that's pretty much it. Except I need to. Almost seems like I did something wrong. It's too easy. I'll put these on. Are you looking at it? Yep. You don't really need these. I'll put it on anyway. Then I'll tighten all my bolts. And then I'll have my helper probably come out and help me bleed it. Then I got to clean up all these tools. And then I do a test, I guess. I think these are just supposed to push on.
If Assad, Russia, and Iran continue, the consequences will be dire.
Russia's ambassador to the UN accuses the U.S. of whipping up Syria to prevent the fall of the last major rebel stronghold in Syria. It says it's home now to hundreds of
I used to have a girlfriend named Nikki Daly.
battle zones in the country. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Washington.
She's a cutie. All right. Let's go ahead and tighten these down.
The Nasdaq was down 20 points to ending at 79.02. The S&P 500 down 6 points to ending at 28.71. This is NPR News.
See, I could have put some thread stuff on there, but really you get these pretty tight. There's really no reason for them to vibrate. There isn't much room for this one. This is a handy little. See, this was, I couldn't get it off with this one. Are you seeing that? Yeah. I couldn't get it off with this little stubby. It was too hard. But I could put it on with it. Tweets. People tweeting. When I was young, nobody tweeted except the birds. The birds. The birds were actually singing. They were singing 8 miles high, and they were singing turn, turn, turn. For everything, there is a time. Turn, turn, turn. How did that go? See, when you're tightening them, you can kind of tell if you're going the wrong direction because it gets looser. But when you're loosening, you got to be careful. You can actually be tightening. Don't know it. There's probably a torque spec for those. Might look at the book, see if I can find it. But otherwise, I'll just get it pretty tight.
And to know that there will be another generation to follow.
The allegations in the news
Come on over here.
were describe the White House, but some believe they need to act to
Okay, I have my helper here to help me bleed the brakes. Go ahead and get in the truck. I'm going to need you to step on the brake. This is the big pedal, and hold it. No, not yet. Well, you can step on it now. Does it go anywhere? When I'm going to do something, and it's going to go to the floor. When it does, I'm saying stop, or you tell me when it hits the floor, and then and then you stop, and then I'll do something, and then I'll tell you, okay, you can let the pedal go. Okay, ready? Not yet.
Wait, so do I let, what do you mean?
Push down to the all the way to the floor and hold it, and then tell me, and then I'll tell you, and then I'll do something, then I'll say, okay, you can let it go.
Ready?
Wait a minute, not ready yet.
Well, the Congress has oversight opportunities, and if that's what Mark Meadows wants to do, he's got to commit
Okay, go.
to do that. They can pretty much do what they want to do. There's oversight responsibility.
Okay, you can let it out. There was some air in there too. I really don't need to bleed it too much more, but I ought to bleed all the fluid out.
Approved before the beginning of the fiscal
But
year, 22
I
years.
don't really feel like
We're
doing
about
that
to
right
get that
now.
done. That's really my focus.
Okay, do it again.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
It sounds like you were not concerned about
Okay, there's no air in it. So that's all.
So I can go in.
So now just make sure real quick.
What were you doing?
It's kind of bleeding the brakes. Yeah, see they're hard. I think what I should do if I'm going to replace the brake fluid is I should suck all this brake fluid out. Otherwise I'd have to pour it all through. There's a lot in there. And then put fresh brake fluid in and then pump it. So I think I'm going to wait and see if this fixes my brakes entirely first, because I might have to redo the front, although the front has been done, but I suspect when they did the front they didn't put new rotors on. So the front may be my problem, why I'm getting vibration when I stop.
This first proposed to her, I was like, isn't that what President Barack Obama did?
Well, one thing I just remembered too. Garages, when they put tires on, almost always over torque your lug nuts. Very bad. I've had these damaged. I had to replace some of these that were damaged. And they do it because they could get in trouble if they under torque them. But they won't get in trouble if they over torque, because by the time if you have to replace this tire and then you can't get it off, you'd have forgot who put the tire on. And if you never have to replace the tire, well then you get a new tire, take it to a garage, they get that air hammer on it, they get it off. But this is all the tighter you really have to do it, is like that. That's really all you need. Now they say something about aluminum. If you got an aluminum wheel, it can loosen up. But even then, what they say is you want to re-torque it after you drive it for a while, which of course nobody does. So that's my thing about over-torquing. So as it turns out, that did fix my brake vibration problem, and so that means that there's something wrong with this rotor. And the point I want to make now is you can't tell by looking at it that there's anything wrong with it. Now if I had a professional spinner, we might be able to show something. I've got this. If you had a well, I might be able to see something. Let's bring it in. Well, let's just zoom it, I guess, maybe. Really? Does the wheel go up and down? Something. Let's see, what have I got? I don't know if the wheel's really good this way. But now I can clearly see that this thing is moving. But generally speaking, my point is it's not centered on the wheel either. But my point really is that you can't actually see anything wrong with this rotor just when it's just straight on looking at it. It's a little rusty, but you can't. So I couldn't identify which wheel was doing it as I was driving. And now, if it had been front, you probably would have felt it in the steering wheel, which I didn't. But I didn't really know. And one other thing too, you've seen the pads already, but you know, you can't really see anything wrong with these either. And of course, it's not likely to be the pads anyway, if you're experiencing vibration. These are those composite pads that's got a bunch of different junk blended in. They work pretty good. So anyway, as I mentioned earlier, the good news is that I don't have to redo the front. The fronts have been done. Usually your fronts will wear out first, and they've been done on this truck already. I think these pads are original. It's 50,000 miles on it.